Hi guys, so this is a short video on the pre-release task this year. This is for pre-release 21, I mean June 2022, but paper 21. And this is the problem of Friends of CVU Peer, and it's a sort of a task where they are asking you about adding people and then asking them which area they want to volunteer. So if you read this clearly, there is not much complexity involved here. If you see, it's just about working out a program for this organization who wants to have members, right? And each member who joins the CVU peer organization, they have to pay $75 per year as a contribution. And then if you also wish to sponsor a wooden plank, you need to pay $200, and then you can actually also share a message that you want to be on the CVU peer. So if you look at task 1, this is all about just simply becoming a member of Friends of CVU peer. And to become a member, you have to record your first name, last name, your choice whether you actually wish to work as a volunteer, and if yes, then there are three areas where you can actually work as a volunteer. What's your date of joining, and whether you have actually paid the $75 membership fee or not. And it clearly says that all of this information needs to be stored using suitable data structures. So if we look at task 1, it is a very simple task where it's just about asking for inputs and saving those inputs in proper data structures, right? So looking at this, I think we can clearly identify that the most appropriate choice for a data structure, if we are talking about Python, would be a list, because a list can actually store data in a sequential manner, and it's also easy to iterate through a list and find out any particular information that we want to filter out, right? Now, looking at your task 2, all the data that you recorded in task 1 is going to be used for filtering out, certain pieces of information. So for example, like members who have chosen to work as volunteers, members who would like to work at the gate, gift shop, painting, decorating, members whose membership has expired, or members who have not paid their $75 fee. So it's just about iterating through those lists and finding out information which matches this criteria. That's all about task 2. And task 3, which is a very simple task this year, is just adding an additional option to task 1, where you had asked about first name, last name, date of joining, etc. Herein you have to add some more functionality to task 1 to just ask the people that do you wish to also be a sponsor, and if yes, then would you want to record a short message, right? So for this also, I think the best way would be to have another array or a list and then store the messages over there, right? And that's about it. So if we look at the code that I've created, there are a lot of functions that I have used, because if you see the pre-release, it's like different things are happening in the program. So you are recording data and then you are filtering out the lists. So I thought that it's better to create functions to do different tasks altogether. So what I have done over here is, this is the last line of my code, which is a function which I'm calling, and all of the above lines of code are just simply functions, right? So this is the only piece of data from where the program is actually going to start running. So I'm going to be calling the menu function, which is here. So if I show you my menu function, and when it gets called, that's the first thing that people see, right? And here is my menu function, where I've defined the menu function to work in a certain way. So if you see this, the first thing that the people will see when they run my program is the name of the organization, and then I've given them some choices in numbers. So if they want to add records, they can press 1. If they want to see who have chosen to work as volunteers, 2, and so on and so forth. And if they don't want to do anything, they can just exit the program. Okay. And then over here, what I've done is, because there are numbers involved, and there will be many other places in my program where I'm asking for numbers as the inputs. So what I have done over here is, I have created another function called ask number. Okay, so ask number takes two arguments, which is the minimum and the maximum. So in this above case, it's 1 to 8, so they have 8 choices. So I'm asking the choice through a function. Okay, So ask number 1 to 8. So if I show you what's ask number, I'll just scroll up and show you where is my ask number. So this is my ask number function, which takes a minimum number and a maximum number, and it asks you for your choice. It also validates your choice because the choice should not be less than minimum number or should not be greater than the maximum number, and then it returns that choice. So if I choose number 1, which is adding records, this function is going to return my choice in the form of a number. Okay, so if let's say I want to add records, it is going to return back 1 because 1 is adding records. Okay, so over here, if I press 1, I'm going to have choice as 1, which is adding records. Okay, so if my choice is 1, then I'm calling another function which is adding records. If my choice is 2, I basically want to display the volunteers. If my choice is 3, 4, or 5, I am actually displaying their choices of volunteering. If my choice is 6, I want to see the people whose membership has expired. If my choice is 7, I will call the function which will tell me the names of the people who have not paid the fee. And if my choice is 8, I will just quit the program. Okay. So for each of these choices, I have different functions created which will do the job. Okay. So let's first of all take a look at what is add records function and how does it add records into the database. Okay. So before I go into this function, I also want to see show you a list of sort of a list of the arrays that I have created in Python. So first name is a list. It's an empty list which will store the first names of all the people who become members. Last name, is the surname recording for those people. Volunteer area, there are 3 areas if you remember from the pre-release. It's peer entrance gate, gift shop, and pending recording. So over here we can actually record their volunteering choices. Date of joining, fee, blank message, all of these are lists right now, empty lists which will record the data. Okay, so now let's take a look at adding the records function first of all. So this is my adding the records function. Okay, so if from the above menu I chose number 1, then this function gets called, and when it gets called, what does it ask you? It asks you your first name. Okay, and then I also have done some validation of my first name because I do not want people to just enter like something which is gibberish and something which has special characters or something which has numbers, because a name need to have only alphabetical characters and not alphanumeric, or not to have spaces in between and things like that. So for that I have created another function which is name validation function. Okay, so it takes an argument of f name, which is input, and it checks whether that is false or not. Okay, so if this name validation function returns false, which means there is some error in my first name that they have entered, so I again ask them about their first name. And same is the case with surname. Whenever I ask for an input, I call this name validation function to see if the name entered is correct or not. Okay, so if I just quickly show you the name validation function in my code here. This is my name validation. It takes an argument of the name and it just replaces the, just replaces these spaces and checks whether this is an alphabetical, string or not. Okay, so if the entire string is alphabetical string, it returns true, otherwise it returns false, right? So if there are numbers, of course, in my name, first name or last name, this is going to return false. Okay, so name validation will fail and it will again ask for the first name, right? So this is how the function is getting called. So I ask for the first name, last name, and then next question that it asks me is, do you wish to volunteer? Okay, so now again here, if you see in this program, there are so many different areas in which you have to ask yes and no questions from your members, right? So again and again asking them that, do you wish to volunteer, press Y or press N. Instead of that, I have created a function called ask yn. Okay, this function just simply returns a yes or a no. Okay, so if you see in here, um, sorry about that, I just, okay. So volunteer is the variable which will store either yes or a no, and that value will be returned by the function here. Okay. So let's quickly look at ask yn. What is that function here? So ask yn is somewhere up there. It is here. So it asks you for a choice that choose yes or no, and I've also used a lower case character because basically, I just wanted them to, enter anything and then convert that into a lowercase character, whether it's lower or capital or whatever it is. It will convert that into a lower. And then I've also used another little function here which says starts with. Okay, so even if they enter something like yes, YEAH, YUP, yup, or anything that starts with a yes, I want the program to consider that as a yes. Okay, and anything that starts with N, which is nope, nah, no, any of these choices should be also factored in by the program. So I have used this function. So if the choice starts with a Y, small y, it returns true. If the choice starts with a N, it returns false. Okay, so that is what is happening here. And let's say here, going back. So when it asks you volunteer, ask yn. Let's say I say yes. Okay. So if this choice is true, which means if volunteer is true, that is a yes, it will show me the 3 areas where I can work as a volunteer. So peer entrance gate, gift shop, and painting and decorating, right? And again I will ask them choose the area, and again I'm using a function ask number, so choose from above 1 2 and 3, anything, right? And once they enter where they want to work, that choice is actually appended to a list. Okay, so v area was an empty list which I showed you at the starting of the program, and dot append is a function which is used to add something to a list. Okay, so whatever area they choose to work at, that number will be stored in the v area. Okay, and if they don't wish to volunteer, in their place it will be stored as a none, so which means they don't want to be the volunteer. Okay, if they wish to be a volunteer and they tell me the choice, that number is stored in the v area list. Otherwise v area list for them is going to contain a none, right? Yeah. Now, next thing that I want to ask my users is their date of joining, right? So over here also I've done some validation on date. So I've told them that please enter your date in capital, like 4 digits of year, then 2 digits of month, and 2 digits of dates, separated by these dashes, this kind of a format. Okay, and then I have tried to validate it, so I'm just doing it in this way. So strp time is a sort of a function which is used to, which takes a string and compares it against a certain format. Okay, so this date of joining, what they enter here in the first line, will be compared against this format. Okay, now if you clearly closely notice this, it says percentage capital Y, then percentage small m, percentage small d. So whenever we say capital Y, basically what we are trying to say is that we want 4 digits of year. When we say small m, we are saying 2 digits of month, and then small d is 2 digits of date. Okay, so this string which they enter in here will be compared against this format. If it is perfect, it just breaks out. Otherwise it shows them that this is the incorrect date string format and it should be this, and then program again asks you your date of joining. So unless and until you actually enter the date in the correct format, it will keep on asking you. Otherwise, if you've entered it in the correct format, it just breaks out of the loop. Okay, I'll tell you what happens when it breaks out. So when it breaks out, the next thing that happens is that it asks you, have you paid the $75 fee, right? And then in the variable fee paid, again I'm calling the function yes and no. Okay, the one that I showed you, which is used for asking yes and no questions. Okay, so if the fee paid is equals to true, which means this function, if it has returned a value true, then in the field list, I am appending a yes, right? Otherwise, if the value returned by the function was a false, which means a no, I am appending no into the field list. Okay, this is how it works. And then task 3 was about asking for a sponsor choice. So I've added it here to my task 1, as it said that do you want to be a sponsor. So it records your choice and again asks you a yes and no question. So it calls that function, and let's say if your sponsor choice is a true, it's yes, okay, then it asks you that enter your message. Okay, it also asks you is the message okay, and again you are asking yes and no question here. So if the message is okay, then you append that message into the blank message list. Okay, the one that I had shown you in the starting of the program, which is an empty list. So if the answer to the question is yes, the message is okay, append that message. Okay, and of course, I mean, it will keep on asking you this question. If the message is not okay, then it will again ask you enter the message again. Okay, otherwise, if the sponsor choice is a no, which means you don't want to be a sponsor, then in the list it will be appended as none, which means you don't want to be a sponsor. Okay, so that is what is happening here. And over here, when all the data has been asked for, then the person's name which they entered in the beginning of this code over here, this one, first name, last name, date of joining, all of this I am appending it into the correct lists. Okay, so first underscore name is a list in which I am appending f underscore name, which is a variable used for recording the first name and last name. Okay, so don't get confused between the names of the arrays and the variable. When it has to start with a list name or an array name. Okay, so first underscore name append and last name append, date of join append, all of this. And once all the recording is done, I also want to print the first name, last name, date of join, blank message, volunteer area, fee choice, everything, just to sort of show them that this is what they have entered. Okay, so once that is done, then it will ask you, do you wish to add more records? Enter yes or no. Okay, and I'm recording that choice in again through the function, which is yes and no function, which I showed you. So if the prompt is a true, then you again go back to the add records function and add another record. Otherwise, if you say that no, I don't want to add more records, it will take you back to the menu. Okay, so if I go back to my menu, here this is what will be shown once again. Okay, so from where I can add more records, or I can just look at the members who have chosen to work as volunteers and things like that. Okay, so if let's say over here, after adding one record, if the person wants to now presses 2, which is members who have chosen to work as volunteers. Okay, so let's say if the choice is 2, it will call the display volunteers function, which will be able to display the volunteers. Okay, so let's look at what is display volunteers function here. So this is here, display no, this is choices, display volunteers is here. Okay, so what is display volunteers doing? There is a list called v underscore area where we have recorded the volunteers choices like yes and no in the form of yes and no. So if if in the list, okay, we find out that there is a number called 1 or a 2 or a 3, which means 3 volunteer choices are there. Okay, then I print their names over here. Okay, of course those choices which shows none in the list will be just discarded. But if we have, because if you remember when we were asking for volunteers, we were using their numbers to be stored in the list, right? So if a match is found, which in the form of numbers as 1, 2, or 3, the first name and last name of those people will be printed from the list of first name and last name. Otherwise, it will not print their names, right? And then if I go back to menu, if the person wants to see the volunteers who would like at the pier entrance gate or the gift shop or help with painting and decorating tasks, then for that choice, if the choice is 3, 4, or 5, I have another function which is display volunteering choices. Okay, The first one was just to show the names of people who are volunteers, but this time I want to see their choices, okay, whether they have chosen to work at one of these three areas. So we have this function called display volunteering choices, and if I show you that, it's here, display volunteering choices. So if the choice is 3, okay, which means the people who have chosen to work at the peer entrance gate, then I am going to search for the V area, okay, V area, and if I find a 1, which is the first choice, okay, I print their names, okay. If the choice is 4, which means people who have chosen to work, the member, if I want to see the list of members who want to work at the gift shop, then I search the V area and I see number 2. Okay. Do not get confused between these numbers over here. This is 3, 4, and 5 is from the menu. Okay. And these choices 1, 2, and 3 are the 3 different areas in which they have chosen to work. That is how it is working. Okay. And then we have the sixth choice as members whose membership has expired. So if somebody chooses number 6, I call the membership expired function, which is over here. And what it is basically doing is that in the date of joining, the entire date of join has been stored. For example, 2022 0908, something like that. So it only extracts the uh, first four items, right? So 2022 2022, okay, because we are concerned by the year of join. So if the year is less than 2022, we print their first name and last name. Okay, so let's say I joined in 2020, but then I have not renewed my membership, so my name will be displayed. So if the first 4 digits of the entire date of join is less than 2022, I print out their names. That is how this membership expired function works. Okay. And another thing that I can do is members who have not yet paid their $75 fee. This I had asked the people and they said yes or a no. So if the choice from the menu is 7 here, I am calling the fee not paid function. And let's see what fee not paid does. So here is my fee not paid. It searches the entire array or entire list, which is the name fee. If it finds a no anywhere, it prints out the first and the last name from the list of first names and last names. So whoever has a no stored in the fee list, their names will be printed. Okay. If you would have noticed at the end of each function, I am also calling the menu function so that my control keeps going back to the menu. Okay. So that people don't get stuck. If they have seen membership expired and they want to go back to the menu and do something else, I have given them an option to do that. Okay. The last option is of course exit. So if somebody's choice is 8, they just exit it. Okay. Let me run this program and show you how this works. Okay, so here is a menu which gets displayed and it is asking me what is your choice now. So let's say number 1 that I want to add records. Okay, so it asks me enter your first name, enter your surname, do you wish to volunteer? So over here, if you see, even if I enter something like yeah, okay, it still accepts that choice. Okay, and it shows me that if you yes, you want to volunteer, what are the 3 areas where you can work as a volunteer? So let's say I choose the gift shop as the volunteer choice. Enter your date in this format. Let's say I do not enter it in the correct format. I put these dashes, sorry, slashes instead of the dashes. Okay, so it will tell me that this is the incorrect date string format. It should be in this format. Okay, so let me choose some date in 2021 and correct format, which is this. Okay, it accepts the date and it asks me, have you paid the $75 fee? I say no. Okay, do you want to sponsor a plank? Let's say yes. Enter your message. So any message. Okay, it's is here, surname is here, my date of joining is here, this is my blank message. This is the area where I have chosen to work as a volunteer and I have paid the fee. Okay, It says, do you wish to add more records? So if I say yes, I want to add one more record, enter your first name. So let's say I'll enter my son's name, right? No, my son does not wish to volunteer, and his date of joining is, let's say, the 2022 one. Have you paid the $75 fee? My son says no. Do you wish to sponsor a plank? No, I don't wish to. And it shows me the lists. So in the first name list, I have two people's first names. In the surname, I have two people's surnames. Their date of joinings are also stored. So here it is. And for me, the plank message shows save the planet, but for my son, it shows none because he did not choose to sponsor a plank. My volunteering area is the number one choice, and my son did not want to volunteer, so it's none. I have paid the membership fee while my son hasn't, so it shows no. So all the lists with relevant data are here. It again asks me, do you wish to add more records? This time let me say no, I don't wish to. And then it takes me back to the menu. Now let's say I want to only see the people who have chosen to work as volunteers. So I'll press choice number 2 and it shows me only my name over here. Okay. And it displays the volunteer name and then it takes you back to the menu. Okay. Now here I want to see number 3, which is members who would, volunteers who would like to work at the pier entrance gate. Okay, it shows me my name because I was the one who had chosen area number 1, which was pier entrance gate. Okay, if I want to see people who would like to work in the gift shop, I will say 4 and it does not show me anything. Okay, you can even add a message like none of the volunteers have chosen to work at this area or something. You can add more to that. Volunteers who would like to work in the painting and decorating, so that I have number 5, and there was nobody, so nobody's name is displayed. 6 is for members whose membership has expired, and that was me because I had 2021 date. Okay, while my son's date was 2022, so his name is not displayed but my name is displayed. Number 7 is for members who have not paid their $75 fee. That was my son, he had not paid it, right? And 8 is for exit, so I can just simply exit the code like that. Okay, this is how simply it works.